Okay, we should be rolling here. So I've just brought him in. I haven't done anything at all with him. Just turned the camera on. He's just been standing tied to that ring there for 15 seconds or so. I'm not sure if it'll be on the camera just yet, but it will be when I get closer to him. So you can see he has a pretty hard time kind of containing himself. He's always bouncing around and moving, really, you know, kind of moving and up in the air and tense and really just kind of a nervous sort. Now the weather outside is starting to snow. It's kind of cold and a little chilly, so that's kind of got the horses a little bit on edge, but nothing too major. It's just kind of him. You can see, you know, he sits here, he kind of vibrates and bounces up and down, like a little bit like a Chihuahua, really. So obviously a lot of what we will be working on is kind of getting him in the frame of mind to relax a little bit so that he can actually learn something. Not a lot of learning be going on in this state. Good boy. So even here you can see he's always, you know, back and forth and high-headed and worried about everything that's going on everywhere but where he should be. And normally what I might do with him is just kind of get him moving earlier. He's got a lot of dirt on him because he was rolling outside. And, you know, I wouldn't try to make him stand still to relax. I'd get him moving, focusing on something, and that's what we'll do right away. But he also needs to kind of learn to deal with this stuff as well. I wanted to get the mud off him, clean up his feet a little bit, you know, and just, it's part of life. So sometimes you can kind of work them in a way, you know, teach them to kind of, you know, some people would probably go with like the patience pole idea, you know, tie them there and let them figure things out. I don't really find that something that I'm very interested in. That's it. Good. So when he's moving forward like that, even when he's tied, he's constantly forward. He's up and forward and constantly on the go. Putting tension in his body just by the way he holds himself and manages himself. So because he's always so forward and up and braced, I want to use that shushing sound and the back up as kind of a reset for him. So forward and up and tight is his go-to. I want him to kind of have to think a little bit about backing up, so it's back and down and soft. That gets better as we work. Right now he's just having a hard time kind of just standing still. So we just work on that until we can maybe get his feet. And there has to be, you know, a meaning to the backup. He has to actually back up and kind of refocus on what's going on and not what might possibly could someday potentially maybe in the future happen. He's got to be here and focus on what's going on here. Pay attention to us. And we're going to be a little bit more strict on where his focus is right now. Down the road, when he kind of earns his stripes a little bit more, we'll give him a little bit of leeway on that. But right now he needs to be here. He has to pay attention here and be aware of where we are so he doesn't run over you. He has no awareness of that space when he's in that frame of mind. Good for you. And he'll just and down. Right. He hears the horses outside calling a little bit. And just so that he even learns, manages to just keep his feet still, just stand still. Just a little bit of self-management, self-regulation, and a little bit of thought will go a long ways. And it's what he really struggles with. I don't believe that it's ever been shown to him. He's probably been jacked up and amped up for his, you know, but he has to kind of learn to settle down, deal with life a little bit. Good. Yeah. And not just push through us because he feels a little worried. And when there's no response there has to be. He needs to understand that he has to be aware of where we are. This carrying on and looking 20 miles out into the future doesn't really matter. So the rein back has to be a rein back. It can't just be, come on, can you move your feet a little bit? It has to have a meaning to it so that it's back and down. And it's a reset. It gives him something to think about. Good. Good for you. So I just have him in the rope halter right now. I'll probably just work him in that today. I have had a bridle on him. Thank you. And that there, so you can kind of temper that backing up or that your reaction to that to match whatever energy he puts into it in the first place. If he just blatantly pushes through you and barges into you, knocks you out of the way, he needs to know that he has to go back. He cannot do that. And you got to be, because he has a bit of age on him right now, and he has this mindset that he really doesn't need to be at all aware of what the human is doing. Like he really doesn't care. He has no forethought or that's it. He has no concern for what it is that you might be doing or where you are. The worst thing is he has no idea where you are. So you've got to be a little bit firmer with him now than what you might be if he was a 3-year-old and just didn't understand. Now he's had enough time, enough life experience to kind of figure out that I kind of think that he's just had the opportunity to do what he damn well pleases. And you know, and that will get somebody hurt. Yeah, that's it. So we need to have a little bit of a over here. Yeah, and then he starts to chew, he starts to settle, he starts to put a little bit of thought into it. He makes that connection to what it means. This is what we've worked on since he came here, is that backing up, that settling down, and finding a different way of holding himself in the body so that he can actually start to process things, relax a little bit, and you know, change states in his nervous system. He's always in such a high state of awareness and alertness. He's got, you know, the cortisol and all that flowing through him that he can't find a way to let down a little bit. Good for you. So we have to work with him in a way that kind of resets that and teaches them that there's a little different and a better way, a little easier way to deal with life. Thank you. And like I said, being fairly, you have to be quite insistent on it here. We need the consistency, and it has to be so he really knows where the line is. You know, that he starts to learn a little bit of awareness. Thank you. And that even though he may be a little stressed, things might be a little difficult, he still doesn't get to just run over you or drag you around or completely tune you out. Yeah. So because he has such a tiny head, I've got just some spur straps on the halter here, just from the cheek piece down to the bottom on each side, just so it helps keep the halter from pulling up into his eye on each side. Thank you. So get this done. No. Good. Yeah. And like I said, quite often what I would do, if he's in this state here, is start him into some of the work a little sooner, get him moving. But this is good, you just kind of, it gives you the opportunity to kind of see what he's like. And then we'll start into the work and kind of help him out there. Right. Needs his feet done. I'll probably do them later this week or on the weekend. Yep, good. Thank you. Yep. No. Yeah. And you can see here, even though he has he's not pushing through me, he's just, you know, he's on the spot moving because he just can't contain himself half. So he's being respectful enough regarding me enough to not push into me and not run me over if he had the opportunity. But at the same time, he just, you know, he's got so much stress flowing through him and so much nervousness to him that he can't keep his feet still. So this is where, you know, like I said, earlier, where you might, you know, sometimes there's, in some disciplines, there's kind of the mentality of tie him to a pole and let him learn some patience. You know, he'd sit there and vibrate all day long and give himself ulcers probably before he would actually before that would start to have any benefit. So, thank you. So we have to give him some tools to help manage himself a little bit. But we also have to, in times when he needs to be a little bit more aware, like when just getting him ready there, where you have to be a little bit firmer at the times to kind of make that point. Good. So we're going to start by just moving over and around things and giving him something other, you know, giving him an awareness of where his feet are, something to do, something to focus on, to start to bend through the body, start to relax through the body, and then connect that to his brain. Good. So lots of bending, move the shoulders, there's some chewing, and he starts to shift gears a little bit in his mind. Yeah. And so like I said, he's always so forward and up and braced in the neck and so tight in the body. The neck is short, the back is tight, the hindquarters are just pushing out behind him. There you go. So what we want him to do is start to move through the body, bend through the body, contract, in this case, contract on the right side, stretch the left side, start to let go through the body, start to breathe because of that, bending and letting go. Good. Start to soften the neck, push the nose out, and drop the neck down. So the one thing that we will use as a tool for a reset is the backing up. It'll be a very important for him. When he gets too high, yes, and down. Yeah, I know. Right. There he swallows and he starts to let go a little bit. Good. And keep on giving him something new. No, 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 no. This is the first time that we've had these barrels and stuff in here, so it's new to him. So a lot of this stuff he hasn't seen yet. So this is just, you know, and this is good for you to see because this is where he's at. And we can back, move the hindquarters a bit if we can. Give him something other to focus on. Good for you, good. Sees the green lights on the camera too, so that's new for him. Lots to look at, lots of new stuff to be aware of. He's aware of everything, everywhere, all the time. Lives in a constant state of stress. Yeah, that's it. So we can help him start to find more and more. That's it. Don't push me. Right. Help him find some softness through the body. That's right. Starts to chew a little bit. So changing it up all the time so that he's a little bit more focused on what we're doing, what we're asking, what he's doing, where his feet are. Oh yeah. Yeah. We haven't done them before. Nope. Shoulder, thank you. Shoulder. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, let's do it again. They're different heights, and they're not. Yep. Yep. Let him think a little bit. Yep. Thank you. Right. Yeah. And he has to think about where his feet are. This is kind of what he does. He screws his courage up and then he blasts through it. So he comes to the threshold of where he's comfortable. And then he freezes for a second. And then he tells himself, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And then he blasts right through it. Need him to slow down and put some thought into it. And I'm not going to babysit you. You can just figure it out. Thank you. And we'll just go back until he starts to sort it out some more. Yep. That's better. And again. Thank you. Yeah. Don't you come blasting this way. Ah, no. Good. And all this stuff is in here just from a couple of the other horses that I had in here this morning. That's getting better. And again. Normally I have a saddle on him as well. Doesn't look like I'll worry about putting the saddle on him today because I think it's going to be a day of just sort of coming off the edge. Good. Oh, look what happens when you actually think a little bit, huh? Yeah, don't worry about him out there. Yeah, you just worry about you. Yep. Yep. And again. We'll just take our time with this, but thank you. That's getting better. It's harder going from the high one to the low one, hey? Oh, I know. Yeah. It would be easier if you just walk through it too. Oh, you're getting it. Yeah. And push the shoulder. Lots going on outside. And back. And shoulder. Yes. So the more that he starts to connect with slowing his feet down and actually feeling what he's doing and connecting a little bit his body to his brain, which is usually not even in the same area, and slows down. Ah, look at that, hey? All right, and we go again. So these aren't set at any specific distance so that he can just sort of find a rhythm and walk through. They're set so he needs to slow himself down and put a little bit of thought into what he's to what he's got going on. And if it takes all day, it takes all day. I know. Yeah, how about you go a little further now? No, not this way. Yeah. Yeah, not that way either. Then you take the easy way out. Yep. Good. Yeah. Yeah, your feet do lift up. So as he starts to get a little bit more right through his body, and he starts to push his neck out a little longer, that's getting better. Like we talked about before in the other videos and stuff, he was so tight in the body and so contracted in the neck. You know, and you can, and that's just kind of his way of being. So just helping him understand to be a little bit more through the body and use himself in a better way that allows himself to feel better about what he's doing. No. So just while we're here waiting for him to see if he figures life out, you'll notice that I have quite a few sounds that I use. That clucking noise is the shoulders when I go to move the shoulders, either to move the shoulders to the side or raise the shoulders up. Yeah, you've got to go a little slower, my friend. The kissing noise when I want to kind of move the hindquarters over or energize them. Yeah. The shushing noise when I go to back them up. The shoulders. And even on this one here, even though we're kind of back and forth and around, I can move the shoulders, I can work on the hindquarter, I can work on a little bit of flexion. We can lead him with the rein to get him following the rein from what we'll do when he's under saddle or in hand work. I have worked him worked him in hand as well. See, it's doable. Back up and down as a reset. Let him kind of think on that for a second. If he'll just sort of stand there and be a little bit more here and connected and thinking. Yep, right. Slow himself down. Put a little bit of thought into what he's doing. Be a little bit more present here. And just feel that for a bit. And just try to get an understanding of not everything has to be done at warp speed with a whole lot of tension and a bad feeling in the body and a bad feeling in the mind. He's capable of actually thinking and settling and slowing and feeling. There's no feel to it when the head is up in the air, when his ears are poking you in the eyes and his tail is swatting you on the shoulder because he's so upside down and tense. There's no feel there. You could do the same thing with him for 100 years and he wouldn't learn a damn thing. But when he slows down and he starts to understand, that's okay. I'll allow that time. And he starts to connect a little bit. And he starts to think that, hey, maybe, just maybe, life don't have to be so hard. Yeah. And I could move these and make them a little simpler, but I'm not going to. Because if you're out on the trail and you come across some trees, you don't get the opportunity to decide how far apart they're spaced. And he doesn't need that anyway. He can sort out how to move his feet and place his feet. That's a nice one. What's next? Huh? What's next? Backwards? And blast through. Okay. Let's try from here. Yeah. It's just a puzzle, huh? It's just a puzzle. It's just a puzzle. And it's just that uncomfortable feeling he gets when he's not too sure. So the first little while, I'll show you what I mean in a bit once we solve this conundrum. That's better. When there's things down around his feet that he can't really see, it's much, much better than it was, but in the beginning was a really big deal for him. No. That's right. So when things were down around his feet, it was a really big thing. I mean, not just picking his feet up. He obviously could do that, but like the flag waving around him. Thank you. One thing that you really need to be aware of too is anytime you go to make a move, when you start to walk off, he'll be in front of you in no time at all. He just gets motoring along, again with no awareness or concern about where you are. So having this distance here that he's mindful of is something is also really important. And that's because he'll scoot ahead of you. A little worse coming out of that corner because he's afraid of that corner. There's water running down the wall. There's birds back there. All kinds of scary stuff. That's it. Yes. I will just stand here for a second and give him the opportunity when something back there catches his attention and he comes up and he's like, to see if he can actually manage himself enough to come back down. If he couldn't, I might back him up or start to bend him a little bit and help him find that. But here, and then he finds this a little bit. So the more that he can find these moments here, manage himself, yeah, I know. And even though there's something back there that's bothering him, there's a couple of birds up on the wall there. For the most part, he managed to keep himself in check. He wanted to come forward a couple of times, but he stayed there, and he's finding that, and he's processing that, and he's starting to understand, you know, right in the beginning, 10 minutes ago, he wouldn't have been able to do that, but the more that we can help him understand that he's capable of not being so reactive and not having to also be on top of you and have you holding his hand and covering him with hugs to make him feel okay. He has to understand that he can, or start to learn that he is in fact okay when he's not right on top of you. He can manage himself a little bit. And if things get a little out of hand, we can help him reset. Don't. But at the same time, that he is capable of being okay out there on his own, even though we're only 4 feet apart. Good for you. Good. What happens when we go the other way? Yeah. Yeah. And when he kind of gets into the middle of it and he realizes that there's things underneath of him and in front of him, it's a little discomforting for him, and he's not comfortable being uncomfortable. Just something we have to help him with. We don't have to beat on him or, you know, whack him with a stick. But we do have to kind of help him push into that discomfort a little bit, or else he'll never find the ability to do these things without panicking. Sometimes we got to really lean into the discomfort to find a little bit of peace, and that's what he's going to have to do right now. Good. Good. And we can help him, we can guide him, but we can't make him be okay. We can just help him, show him, explain to him that it is okay. I'm just going to leave that boot off for now because I'm tired of putting it back on. I think the Velcro was kind of weak. Ooh. Okay. And again, horses are banging on the fence out there now, so something new to kind of pique his curiosity. Good. Ah. Are the wheels turning? Maybe? Or are we just stuck? We're not sure. How about another step? Yeah. Yeah, have a look. You can see the way he's looking. This is where he gets really uncomfortable, is when things are down by him there that he can't see, and he has to start to kind of try to feel. And it's difficult, but you can do it. You can do it. Yeah, you're almost there. And this is why he has to go through so fast, because he can't really figure out how to place his feet and get through there where he doesn't feel worried. And that's okay. But like I said, he still, that's better. Has to kind of start to figure out, put a little bit of faith in himself, a little bit of self-esteem, of which he kind of seems to really lack the confidence in his abilities. Okay. And again. All right. Now, on to something new. So, you know, you could probably put a saddle and bridle on him. Well, obviously you can do that, because I have. You could probably even get on him and kind of hold him in place and make him look like a riding horse. But it'd be like sitting on a keg of dynamite and just waiting for something to light the fuse at some point. Good boy, good. There he starts to chew and lick again and kind of start to put a little bit of thought into what he's doing. Good for you. Good. That's it. And then the neck comes out and down. He starts to move through his back. His hips start to loosen up behind where the saddle would be. We can encourage a little bit of flexion to the right. Stretch the neck down again. Let him scratch here because he's a little bit stressed. So not every day is like this. Just, I don't want you to think that every single day he starts off high as a kite. That's not the case. Today's a little bit out of the ordinary for him, but that's good because it's kind of him, right? It's good to see where he starts, how he goes. And then you can see when something kind of surprises him like that, that's his reaction. So what I was talking about earlier, thank you, when he doesn't really pay much attention, and this is why I talked earlier that he really needs to have some focus on what's going on. Because when he's focused on the neighbor 15 miles away that's starting their car and he's not paying attention to what you're doing on his back, when something happens close to him, that's where the big reaction is, because all of a sudden it came out of nowhere. So we need to be fairly insistent that he, oh, I know it's scary, that he's paying attention to you. You don't have to be a drill sergeant, but right now you have to be a little bit more on the side of that than somebody that's not paying any attention at all. Once he starts to get, shoulder, thank you. Once he starts to get a little bit more aware of all of these things and paying attention and managing himself a little bit, like I said, then you can cut him a bit of slack down the road. You cut him too much slack at the moment and it's not going to go well. So this is actually quite good today because this is as reactive as he's been in a long time. But when I first started to do this kind of goes back to what I was talking about with walking over those cavaletti. You can see his reaction there. When I first started to touch him down by the legs and on the chest. Aha. So I haven't actually done this for, it's been a little while now since I've used the tools like this. So it's nice to reintroduce them. But when I first started doing this, especially when he started to move and feel that, with the hind legs he would kick. With the front legs he would rear and strike at it. And it has more to do with not him being mean, not him being, you know, trying to get me or to get whoever's doing it. It's just simply that he can't see it down there, especially on the chest. It's a strange sensation. There's rattles in this handle that I have, so there's noise, there's movement, there's touch. There's just about all the ingredients to set him off that there could be. And so he reacts to it. So the first time that I did that and he reacted so strongly, shoulder, thank you. Was just like an indicator to me that if we hadn't exposed him to this kind of thing and just kind of glossed over it or didn't think about it, and then you were to take him out on the trail and a branch touched him down here, there's a good chance you'd be making him walk home by himself. Good. Yes. Yeah, thank you. Good boy. And this is kind of what we need from him here. So, that positioning. Walk on. It's kind of stuck. There's a lot of stuff here now. Where do I go? What do I do? Good boy. Good. Good. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So here, if we can just get him moving, kind of following us around. Starting to work on both sides of him, the shoulders, the hindquarters, coming towards me, shoulders, forward, hindquarters. Yeah. Then he starts to chew and let down. He starts to move his body and kind of feel different. Yeah. Good. Good. So some horses and some way of training, when they're kind of up like that and really anxious and moving and they can't stand still, sometimes the school of thought is, if they want to move their feet, to put their feet to work, you know, really move them around, circle them, back them up, do all these things that kind of really kind of get them in the mindset of moving their feet is really hard and they would rather stand still. The horses like him that tend to be too much that way, and you start to really move them quickly in an attempt to take the edge off, you tend to normally just wind the spring tighter, and that tension just gets more and more and more. So to have him kind of move slowly and bending and kind of feeling, you know, slowing his feet down and kind of making a connection to that slowness and that really stepping, nope. Good. And then attention. Yeah. But having him start to make that connection of how to slow down and breathe and think and feel a bit. Nope. Yes. And how to reset himself when he gets 2 up, which is always right now, yes. So we need to try to give him tools that allow him to be a little bit more here and present. And today is tricky. Like I said, it's a little bit, it's snowing, wet snow, there's water running down the walls. There's lots to think about. There's lots to be distracted by. Yeah, good. And the more we can kind of give him so we give him the opportunity to kind of check in again when he gets, well, I know, there's stuff everywhere. Good, yes. The more we can give him this way of carrying himself and holding himself and trying to feel different and think different and focus on us, yeah, thank you. Try to give him the ability that he feels when this tension builds. That there's something he can do about it. Yes. So when he feels that quickness in his breath and that tightness coming on and his body going into tension and everything is getting really tough and I don't know what I'm going to do, and he takes a deep breath and he comes down here and he's like, oh, okay, it's not as bad as I kind of made it out to be. Right? You know, and that's his style. He's in with another gelding in one of the small pens there right now. For a while they were separated by the corral panels on each side, and even that, being that far away from the other horse, he paces the fence back and forth, and he has a hard time managing that. That's getting better as we're working now. If I bring the other horse in to do some work on, he doesn't, you know, he's not back there kind of screaming and pacing around and running all over the place. It's just, that's where he's at. So he needs a lot of this kind of work, this slow down, breathe, relax, feel, shift gears. Let's think things through a little bit. So he kind of gets out of that constant flight mode, constantly in stress. He's always got something on his mind that has nothing to do with what he's actually doing, and he's his own worst enemy at the moment. So we'll just help him. Help him as much as we can. Thank you. That's good. Nope. Yeah. Good boy, good. Oh! I know. And sometimes surprises are going to happen. Good for you. Good. That time he managed to get a foot over the rope. These are the things that are going to happen in life. Sometimes shit just jumps out at you and you have to deal with it. And if you can't, oh, I know it's tough. And if we don't expose them to things like this now, it's going to show up. I guarantee you it will show up at a very, very inopportune time. Yeah, I know. There's no two ways around it. Surprises will happen. Oh man, that's a tough one, huh? Yeah. Yeah. Now I could pet him and stroke him and whisper sweet nothings in his ears and tell him life is okay and everything is good and nothing will ever hurt you as long as I'm around. That's not going to do him or you any good at all. I would like him to know that I won't put him in a place that will hurt him. Whoa! But things are going to happen in his life that he has to have some sort of tools. Nice. Now, if he were to be tearing around in circles here and really flying off the handle and just, incapable of managing himself at all, I'd go back to working some of the groundwork and help him reset and help him find that a little bit. This isn't really where he's at. I mean, he's fine. He just is surprised by it. He's uncomfortable with it. And this is what I'm talking about, that he needs to sort out how to handle these things. Right. This is like the plastic bag that blows across the field or across the trail when you're out riding, and he turns inside out because he has no idea how to manage it. So if we don't introduce him to the plastic bags here, that's it. When he does encounter an actual plastic bag and you're on his back, it may not go very well. Yeah, I know. And that's a difficult spot down there. A lot of horses struggle with that. And it's probably one thing that I think gets really overlooked. A lot of training and a lot of is introducing them, exposing them to that kind of thing. Yeah. They can't see, obviously, right down there. Things touch them, and it's difficult. Different sensation, It's understandable. I get it. Good for you. Good. Good. It's kind of why I've got so much junk spread around in here. One, it gives them something to work around and look at and focus on and be aware of where their feet are. And two, it gives me the opportunity to introduce some surprises once in a while. And for the most part, you can see that he's pretty good with stuff up here, stuff that he can see, and he sees it coming, he knows it's there. Usually isn't a big thing. Right. Good boy. Good. And we'll just let that fall off of him there and see what his reaction is. Sometimes they'll jump to the side, spook away from it. Sometimes there's no reaction at all. Good. There he swallowed again and he's chewing a little bit. Good. And then it gets wrapped in his feet just a little bit and there's not a big deal. So because of his reaction to the things down by his feet there, I know. I don't really want to, you know, it would be unfair to reprimand him for that, I think anyway. That's it. And this I like here, where, you know, instead of striking at it and rearing at it, he decided, well, what if I manage myself a little bit, back up, take a look here, maybe it's not as bad as I'm making it out to be. And just give him the understanding that he can, in fact, do that from time to time. So if you think of in a different terms, that stuff around his feet, if you, you know, if you're out riding somewhere, or he's just on his own and he happens to get his foot stuck in the lead rope or in the halter or in a fence, and his inclination when he feels something like that is to turn inside out and get as far away as he can. You know, in a situation where he's got his foot stuck in a fence or something, you know, you could be in for something really, really bad, right? So for him to be able to, good job, for him to be able to put some thought into that. Come, now you're frozen. So we'll move the shoulders here. Good. Another important thing too is when he gets a little bit stuck in place, sometimes instead of just clamping the leg on and trying to push him forward, if we can move the shoulders to the side, more often than not when we open the shoulders like that, the next step will be a forward step. So it's not always about pushing him forward, although it can be. We'll see if we can activate him from where our leg would be. Good for you. Good. Good. Good boy. Yes. And just trying, when I do that, I'm trying to just have a long range so he doesn't feel like I'm kind of managing him or restricting him. Good for you. Good. Good. And so I like that reaction that he chose at the end. So we're not going to beat that to death. We don't have to make it perfect. We're just going to introduce him to that over and over again, every day, every other day, once a week, whatever it is. That's it. Good for you. Good. Nice. Good boy. So we probably won't get to it today, but I generally, like I said, I'd have the saddle on him. Not because I'm on him yet, but just for him to wear the saddle. Might have a bridle on him. Work him off the halter. Usually what I would do would be do some work in hand. Might do a little bit of that just to kind of show you where he's at, but good. What's next? So I'm a lot happier with that too after these other little bits of work there. And put a little bit of thought into things. Good. That's it. Good for you. Good. Oh, I know. Everything is so stressful. Oh, it's tough. Oh, it's tough. All right. Good boy. Good boy. Good. Good. Yeah. Good. There we go. Good. So we'd go into a little bit of a riding position, so we're a little bit more, you know, in the position we would be when we're on his back. Good. Use the reins just to kind of create some flexion. Pick up on the rein to see if I can move the shoulders over a little bit. See if we can work the hindquarters over a bit. That's it. So the same idea, just creating that bend through the body, that softness, that wanting to stretch down into the hand a little bit. That's it. Good for you. Good. Keeping his attention. Right. Yep, good. Good. Good for you. That's it. Super. To where he really gets soft there. So if I can pick up on the inside rein a little bit and step his shoulder over, his left shoulder here. Yes. Good. I can step into his rib cage here a little bit. Use my hip as my inside leg. Step him over. Create the bend in the body again. Bring the inside rein out towards the center. Step the inside hind over. Yeah. Good. And it just gives us a little different position to work from. Good. And be in a little closer. Yeah. Good. Get that, yes. So even though he's a little bit focused on stuff on the outside, he's still mindful and you know, being a little softer here and listening. So right. So he's a little bit distracted, but he's also a little bit attentive and aware, and you know, and being mindful of me and what I'm asking. So I'm going to, at this moment, choose to accept a little bit of both of that and not be so insistent that he be 100% focused on me. Because if he can be aware of outside distractions, but still be aware that we are there. Thank you for not blowing up there. Then that's good. You can't take away the fact that he's aware of everything. That's how Arabs are. They know what's going on 3 towns over. But if he can be aware of that, and also with us, okay, come on. You're gonna make me change. There we go. You know, so we can pick those moments too, when it's time to say, you know what, that's actually quite good. Or when there's time, I wouldn't do that in the beginning of his work like he was today. I think that would be a mistake. You would really not get his attention back for quite some time. Yeah, good. So we can work a little bit off the front of the halter as well, really kind of create some flexion in the jaw and the neck, work on that bend in the body, move the shoulders over, work on the stretch, a little flexion to the left, shoulders to the, oh, what do we do here? There's a noodle. That. Yeah, good on you, good. Yeah, good for you. We can work a little bit more on the bend, just kind of taking that a little further, asking him to stretch down by following the rein being the front of the halter when I lead him forward, and bring the nose down into a deep stretch. Then we can elevate the pole a little bit. So if we elevate the pole but still extend the neck, so he still works through the body, the neck just doesn't become, the neck doesn't just come up and get really short and tight like he wants to do. We can work different neck positions. Yes. We can half halt. We can rein back with the neck down. And we can rest there for a moment. Take a deep breath and just kind of think things through. Good boy. So that's kind of, that bit there took longer than it typically does, but you know, today is just the way it is. And like I said, I would normally do a little bit more in-hand stuff, have the saddle on, and just kind of progressing from there. Yeah, and I like these, you know, this letting down, the breathing, the chewing, really kind of just having that soak time and thinking about what we just did. Giving him a chance to feel that a little bit more, kind of let that stress out. Yeah. So when we get to that kind of frame of mind where he's at the end here, when he has a chance to just sit with that for a while and get a little bit of an understanding of what that all meant and how he feels about it, you know, then we'll see what tomorrow brings. But without getting him to that state, yeah, what are you going to do here? Yes. Good. And there he was just a little bit fixed in place. You know, he wasn't spooking, but he was just sort of a little bit almost froze there. So I want to ask him, even though he's not reacting to anything, he's not really, he's focused on the colt that's out there. He's a little bit leaning on this right shoulder. So now if something were to kind of catch him by surprise, very good chance that because he's not here, there you are, thank you. If something were to happen there, his reaction would be to jump. Now it could be to jump on top of you because he doesn't know you're standing here. So when he's a little bit fixed and frozen, there we are. When he's a little bit in that state where he's froze there, that's the stuff. We need him to kind of snap out of that. So you might have to back him up a little bit. You might have to do whatever it takes to just sort of redirect his attention and bring him back into the moment here. Good boy. So I think I'm going to leave it there for today. And then we'll start again tomorrow and see where we're at. All right, thanks. Did it quit? Let's go see. Coming?